world against you, like unfortunately so many people in this country do, because that I think we might have talked about this before, but in this country alone, 80 million Americans report having not even one single close friend to talk to. And so, I mean, loneliness has become, in a lot of ways, the new standard, with friendship and connection being the exception. And I'm trying to really flip that on its head, because this loneliness, this isolation, this, againstness and separation isn't sustainable. It ends with, science shows it ends with early death. It ends with heart disease. It ends with less happiness, less productivity, everything.
I have to
we might
take
have a solution.
Absolutely. I have to take advantage of your youth, your passion. I know that for you, on the horizon years, it's a blue sky. Anything is possible.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you, because you're the one that can help us with this. When I was in your age bracket, they started to take apart the pieces of society. Oh, this piece has got to separate over here. This one's got to go over there. And we were not as lonely when I was a kid as we are now that I'm a grown-up. And I am a grown-up. I mean, I'm not even 30 grown up. I'm like way over 30. I'm grown up. This is it. This is the grown-up world. And what you just cited, I have seen this in every place I've lived around the country. I've lived in L.A., Chicago, Detroit, Dallas, Portland, you name it, Miami, New York City. I've been around. And I've seen these 80 million people. They break my heart. They are one of the reasons I'm on the air. One of the reasons that people used to go on the air, I don't know about today, but when we started in radio, was we felt an obligation to jump in and be a companion for people.
Right.
We got the weather, we got the news, but most especially, we've got you. That's what we've got.
Right.
Weather, temperatures, and all that stuff. Trump is elected. That's not why we're here. We're here for you. And I think something has changed, and you, my good young man, are on this thing early enough to flip it back. Talk to me about flipping this back. How important to do what you're doing? Tell me why.
Well, I really think that you've said it beautifully right there. People need companions. We've developed this society and this way of living that we don't care so much about our people all around us. We care more about what's going on our phone, on our computer, on the internet, which, everybody says they got 1,200 friends on Facebook, but they can't make conversation with their spouse at dinner. And unfortunately, there is science to show that as we invest more in abstract forms of connection, like, oh yeah, we're connected over the internet, we tend to lose our ability to connect day to day with people who don't seem as significant, because we can't get a like from somebody who we talk to on the street. Whereas if we meet up with random Joe Schmo from Minnesota online who we've never met and never will, he might give us a like, so he makes us look better on the internet. And so I think that this new mode of socializing in a way that looks good on paper, and in sacrificing the traditional human eye-to-eye, face-to-face conversation is extremely dangerous. And Ed, I don't know if there's anything more important we can do right now as a society than to just remember we need to be there human to human, even if it's over the phone like this, like you're doing with the radio, giving a human presence to the people around us, because that's really the only way we're going to be able to flip this back. And the only way we're going to be able to remember that all these people around us are humans too.
There was a phrase that used to come up, again, when we were at college age, and we were examining, again, our future. We're thinking in the 70s, I'm in college, 74 to 78. So we're thinking in that 4-year period, where's it going? How do we make a contribution? And my best teachers would always say, make sure you're a total person. Don't go in there with only engineering, only creative writing. You guys have got to become people. And I was like, it hit me, like, he's right. Oh, my God, if we're going to function correctly, if we're going to do it, we got all these lofty goals, right? We want to improve the society. Many of the goals you guys share, right now are goals that we had. We want to diminish racism. We want people to get to understand each other better. We want cultures to understand each other, not to go to war with each other. So our idea was we're going to specialize for sure, but we have to get a sense of humanity. And I feel the web and the weird delivery systems on the screens and the phones is causing us to miss out on it. And I think it's important. I think you could bring it back. What do you think the value of this well-roundedness of a human means?
I think that really, at the end of the day, is everything. And it's funny that you put it that way, because that is a lot of how I think about this concept that I'm teaching, FICA. That's sort of the specialization that I'm using to get this message home. But really, the message I'm trying to give people is, listen, you got to become a human, a well-rounded person that is nice, not just for 15 minutes, not nice, but, is connecting, is open, is vulnerable, and also giving in all aspects of life, in all situations when people are around. Even if you're sitting on the subway, everyone's plugged in, that's a time to connect, not just at FICA. So I love that you tied that into the idea of specializing and then also becoming a full-rounded human, because I think you can't just be incredible at doing one thing, one portion of your life. You have to be able to translate that excellence and that desire to be outstanding into the little things, the daily things. Like in my world right now, I'm trying to focus on teaching people, say thank you to the people who serve you. Say thank you to your cashier. Say hello to your bus driver. Say, those are nice shoes to somebody you see on the subway. It's those miniature little choices that we take from our specializations, from our education, from our work, and translate into the rest of our world that really make the difference.
See, this is, again, how we were taught. Exactly what you said. Yeah. You could have lifted that from my Aunt Addie, from my mom, from my Uncle Louie. I mean, this was exactly what was said. And I'll tell you something else that used to bring it up. We used to get this kind of stuff in Catholic school and in church. It was put on us morally to be nice. Don't walk around with a frown. Turn that frown upside down. It's not nice to walk around grumpy and grouchy. And we were very taken by this, because you'd leave school, you'd come outside the church after the homily, after the sermon, and of course you'd run right into what you were being told not to do. There'd be some grouch out there, and you would confront it, but you knew that the lesson was correct. You could see how the world has a harsh kind of, insensitivity to it, and that humans are the ones that come in. Like you say, I do this a lot, and people always say, oh, my God, why do you do that? But I'm always with the nice shirt, nice tie. Why? Because people did pick it. It is a self-expression. Right. What's wrong with saying nice car, nice this? It's a way of smiling verbally. So now I want to ask you, after that long interlude, all right, here's the question. When you decided to start a company that would actually encourage people to connect and feel good, what was the moment, what was the spur, the catalyst for that? Do you remember when it occurred to you and you thought that was a great idea?
I really do, and it's pretty recent for me, thankfully, so it's a very vivid image. I recently graduated from university, as you mentioned, and in college, when you're surrounded by all these friends, it's almost like to make a friend is not really that difficult, because, you're forced to the same classes, you live in the same dorms, you see everybody everywhere, and it's sort of natural. Not everybody, a lot of people who go through school have a set group of friends through that. Then I graduated, and immediately my group of friends fell apart. Immediately, everybody's moving all over the country, and suddenly I'm out in the real world, as they call it.
Right,
and
as they call it.
I'm thinking to myself, how the heck, okay, like I haven't seen a friend here in like a week. I got to go meet some people. And then I was thinking, how do I do that? Where do I go to, honestly, like I've been dating somebody for a long time, so I'm not going to go on a date with a stranger and meet somebody through that. I don't go to church, so I haven't been able to meet people through that. Where do I go to meet somebody my age who I can connect with? And I was like, that's kind of tragic that I have to really like rack my brain that hard to think about where I can start a conversation with somebody.
Right.
And And I'm very connection oriented. And I was thinking, a lot of my friends, they're these people who sit around and focus on their phones and hardly know how to make a friend if it's sitting in front of them. And I was like, what are they going to do? They're going to turn into those zombies who just go to work, go home, turn on TV, never talk to another person again outside of work. And that really, really was very sad to me. It was a really sobering moment when I decided, along with my mother, who I started this company with, that we needed to do something to change this. And we really think that Fika is one of the easiest, most approachable, simplest ways of starting this change that we so desperately need.
Oh, man, absolutely. Now, loneliness, I've known this for a while, but you have a good stat here, okay? People need to get this understood. Loneliness is bad for your health. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually as bad as smoking, 15 cigarettes a
Yep.
day, meaning, and people are going to say, well, what? I don't get that. Let me explain it to you. When you are lonely, when you are distressed, or you are toxic from cigarettes or some other thing, booze, whatever, but you're all filled up, that works against your body chemistry. That makes you less happy, comfortable in your own skin. Talk to me about how loneliness is truly a problem for your health. Your well being is going to be affected by the loneliness factor in your life, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, you said it right there. It's been shown by medical studies to be as dangerous for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes per day, because there are so many, hormones in the body that are released when you meet other people. Dopamine, for example, is one that is often released when you touch another person. So maybe your body stops producing as much dopamine. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't go into the exact medical reasons, but there's ways to tell, all the way from how you perform at work, what decisions you make when it comes time to, if do I eat this whole cake or do I have a salad for dinner? You know what I mean? Do I have
Right.
another glass of wine
Right.
or do I drink a thing of water? When you're lonely, there has been many studies that show also loneliness inhibits our ability to make decisions that are for our best, like in our best interest, because we go for the instant, quick comforts. And usually those result in more damaging things. So not only does loneliness itself affect our bodies, but it affects our decision making, our ability to help get ourselves out of bad habits, bad patterns that might be affecting us in other ways.
All right, so I
Um,
got a big
and there's
question. I got a big question for you.
Okay,
Based
all
on
right.
what you just said, here's the big question. Now, for a lot of the political people I have on the show, I have a big question for them. And I always say to them, is it possible we can't, as a human race, govern ourselves in these nation states? So now I go push that aside. I'm going to ask you, is it possible that we have lost our way from happiness? In the
Hmm.
biggest of the big picture, have we gotten distracted, overstimulated, confused, juxtaposed, and we possibly could be lost in how to raise the level of happiness in our own lives and in the community? Is that even a possibility?
I think it is a definite possibility. It. I think I hesitate to say we're lost because I think we can always find a way back. But at this point, I think as a society, as a community, as individuals, it requires a conscious change and a conscious effort towards re realizing that we are human. We can't constantly depend on instant gratification, on the text messages, on our phones, on our computers, on these abstract concepts to fill the void that exists when we don't have human connection, when we don't get to share our compassion or receive compassion from other physical human people. I think that when it comes to happiness, most, not most, a lot of people really rely heavily on ways to limit feeling bad rather than create the feelings of good. Um, and that comes from, again, I think loneliness, separation, anxiety, stress, all these things that are just weighing down on us in the society, that's based on quick, 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 and get the money, get out, get your reputation. I think it requires taking a step back, realizing where we are, who we are, what we come from, and that we're all people, and that we need to reinvest in ourselves and in the people around us if we ever want to feel that real happiness again.
Amen.